A lot of people felt that he might say, OK, let's delay it for 6 months. He was absolutely insistent that do it now. A delay he would regard as a sign of weakness, a sign of doubt. And that would strengthen the forces, the strong forces, that were opposed to any form of National Health Service. So a delay would in fact be a serious retreat.
Some of the doctors have been suggesting that the introduction of the National Health Service should be postponed because there is a shortage of nurses, doctors, dentists, hospital equipment and things of that sort. That is a lot of stupid nonsense, for we shall never have all we need. Indeed, if we are short, it is all the more reason why we should use intelligently what we have got.
Bevan was too proud a politician to back down now. But privately, he knew there were serious hurdles to overcome. His 6-month timetable was far too short to deal with the practicalities of launching the NHS. In just 2 years, the estimated start-up costs had almost doubled to £180 million, the second biggest charge to the Treasury after the military. Britain's existing medical services were desperately ill-equipped to meet the impending demands of the new service. Most of our 3,000 hospitals were crumbling, either from age or from the Blitz.
There was not a single hospital in London that escaped bomb damage. I, during the war, was living in Manchester, Salford, and the bombers came over the Salford docks, and one night they took out an entire wing of Hope Hospital, Salford, leaving bare ends of a corridor and a fair number of dead nurses and dead patients, where a 3-story wing had just disappeared.
No amount of improvisation or re-equipping can expand these Victorian walls. This corrugated iron shed was built in 1918 for war casualties.
I worked as a theatre orderly and as a ward orderly in an old workhouse hospital, and 3 years after the war there was corrugated iron covering the passageway where the block had previously stood. So it was in fact possible to push a patient on a stretcher underneath the corrugated iron across the area of bomb damage down to the operating theatres.
With just 5 weeks to go till the NHS opened its doors, Bevan's problems continued to get worse. It wasn't just the buildings and equipment falling short. He still had only a small proportion of the staff the NHS would need.
Nurse.
Nurse Edwards, can you go to her?
Our nurses are busy and overworked because there aren't enough of them. Many hospitals have closed wards because of that.
A last-minute campaign was launched to find 30,000 new nurses to tend to almost 400,000 hospital beds.
Who will help? You will? Good. But you can't like that, you know. Ask at your local Ministry of Labour office or a hospital for details of how to become a nurse. There are 30,000 needed.
The pressure on Bevan continued to mount to the bitter end. Now the press was on his back, predicting another disaster. They claimed that free healthcare to 50 million Britons would result in an anarchic free-for-all.
They forecast that the service would break down under the onslaught. Suddenly it was free, so obviously it was like making ice cream free. I mean, if you didn't have to pay for your ice cream, everybody would eat enormous quantities of ice cream.
As Bevan's appointed day approached, apprehension turned to nervousness. Would the hospitals come up to scratch? The nurses be trained? Or would everything fall apart as demand soared overnight? All eyes were now on the Health Minister.